Oh, yeah, John. How are you? How are you? Good, good. This is,
Carrie.
Carrie.
Hugh Grant plays a perennial best man who falls in love at a wedding and 4 Weddings and a Funeral. The new comedy we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. And also on this program, a macabre British horror story, a drama about inner-city basketball, and a documentary about the woman who was known as Hitler's filmmaker. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and our first film is 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and it is a very good film. Smart and funny and romantic and bittersweet about love. I like this picture so much more than, say, that light as a feather big hit Sleepless in Seattle. Here again, we have 2 lovers who take a very long time to get together. The fine young British actor Hugh Grant is a confirmed bachelor who keeps running into lovely, outspoken Andy McDowell at weddings of his friends. In this scene, they've just slept together, and she recounts to him all of her lovers.
Well, you know, I grew up in the country, lots of rolling around in haystacks. Okay, 7. 8, unfortunately. It's quite a shock. 9, against a fence. Very uncomfortable. Don't try it.
I won't.
10. Oh, it's gorgeous. Just heaven. Just... Oh, he was wonderful.
I hate him.
It's a good scene, and they like each other, but it takes the very real prospect of her getting married to another man to bring out Grant's awkward declaration of his own love.
I really feel, in short, to recap in a slightly clearer version, in the words of David Cassidy, in fact, while he was still with the Partridge Family, I think I love you.
That's another good scene. 4 Weddings and a Funeral is full of fresh, offbeat characters, too, including Hugh Grant's deaf brother, played by David Bauer.
Where are you doing it?
Scotland.
He says that's a beautiful place. Hilly.
Well, you should come to the wedding, too. I want as many friends as possible to make up for the gruesome stiffs that Hamish knows.
And it's the brother who will play a critical role in the picture, possibly, just possibly, saving Hugh Grant from marrying the wrong person.
He says, I suspect the groom is having doubts. I suspect the groom would like to delay. I suspect the groom...
There are many other memorable characters in the picture, but the key to the enjoyment of the film is that the 2 lead characters have been written as smart people who we want to see get together, and it's just like Sleepless in Seattle, only these 2 characters are more real, I think, and original. I really recommend 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh, I recommend it too, Gene, and one of the marvelous things about the film is the juggling act, and that there are so many people, and they all know each other, and then we get to know them and figure out who they are and then discover things about them. For example, the Simon Cowell character, who is a friend of almost everybody, and we get to know him. He's almost like in the background of everything until finally we begin to look in the background and notice him. And with all the characters, and then this wonderful chemistry right in the middle between these 2 people.
Well, Andy McDowell is one of the sunniest, most watchable actresses around, and yet there's a dark corner in every one of her smiles where you think, why isn't she happier? She's so perfect.
That scene that you showed, where the morning after they sleep together, she says, you know, she makes a statement like, are you ready to propose marriage, or when shall we announce our engagement?
Right.
She knows that he's not ready to get engaged, and she's kind of telling him, look, Buster, either you make your move or you might lose me, because she's ready to get married to somebody. And the darkness there in the middle of that sunny morning when they're so much in love is very intriguing.
This is a really good film, 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Okay, our next movie is named The Cement Garden, and this is a strange, perverse horror film based on a novel by Ian McEwan, the author of such other shockers as The Comfort of Strangers, which was made into a Paul Schrader film, and Black Dogs. His story takes place in a house that sits isolated on the outskirts of a town where no neighbors are around to pry. A teenage brother and sister and their younger brother and sister live in the house with their parents, but shortly after the story begins, the father dies and the mother falls ill.
They want me to go into hospital, just to give them a chance to get to the bottom of whatever it is I've got.
Concerned that they may be sent to an orphanage, the elder siblings determine to conceal the condition of their parents, and one of them ends up down in the basement encased in cement.
Tuesday, August the 25th. Dear Mum, you've been dead for 21 days. No one mentioned you today. Jack was in a horrible mood as usual.
The fate of the parents is only the beginning of the film's macabre events, which include a suggestion of incestuous feelings between the shy brother and the more dominant sister.
Girls can wear jeans and cut their hair short, and wear shirts and boots, because it's okay to be a boy. But for a boy to look like a girl is degrading, because you think that being a girl is degrading.
You may have gathered from the plot description that The Cement Garden is recommended for adults only, and it sure is. It's not what I would describe as an entertaining film either, although in its own strange way it did draw me into its morbid world. The director, Andrew Birkin, is able to create an isolated existence here in that ugly house in the middle of nowhere, and its events take on a macabre fascination. I couldn't look away from this film.
Well, I would say that the beginning of the film, I had that going on for me, and I like the location of it. I like that. Well, it's the cement garden. I mean, it is a cement world. And I am sure that with the death of parents, that people can be thrown, and children can be thrown into very strange situations. At the same time, that's where I felt the picture broke down. And maybe it's because I've talked about actors who say, they don't, directors who say, you can't show people nude in a movie because what happens is you start to say, oh, that's what the actor looks like. And now here it's a very difficult subject to control, incest, and I don't think that they control it. I think that subject ran away with the back end of the picture.
No, because basically it is an incestuous sex that they're talking about, but the game that she's playing with this brother that she has control over. And I thought
there's a game with an even younger brother about dressing him up.
And then there's also the suitor who comes to call and the way that they deceive him. I think it's intriguing.
The setup of the picture was, the finish was not for me. Coming up next, the latest in a fast break of basketball movies that we've been getting. This one is called Above the Rim. And coming up later, a documentary on Adolf Hitler's favorite filmmaker, the controversial propagandist of the Nazi Party, Leni Riefenstahl.
What are you doing talking to Phil Red? You want to make yourself ineligible?
The man wouldn't even look me in the eye. Besides, I just wanted to know when he was sending my recruitment letter.
That's Dwayne Martin, as a very talented high school basketball player going through a crisis in Above the Rim, an exciting new basketball movie. And this one is so much more authentic, I think, than Blue Chips, detailing the pressures on young inner-city athletes. For example, young Kyle Lee Watson, played by Dwayne Martin, has to get out from under the thumb of a local gangster named Birdie, played by the controversial rapper Tupac Shakur, who is a very good actor, I think. He was good in Poetic Justice, and he's compelling here, too.
Heard you're a Hoya now. Congratulations. What you think they're going to think up at Georgetown about the presents you took? Check this out. They're not going to college or anywhere if the Birdmen don't win. You might be on another team, but you playing for me, Kyle. You remember that.
Another character vying for Kyle Lee's soul is the gangster Birdie's older brother, played by the actor called Leon. He was in Cool Runnings, and there's something mysterious about his strong, silent act.
First basket wins. Winner gets both. Deal? All you got to do is score, Kyle.
Is it a deal?
It's a deal.
The basketball scenes play very real. Again, I enjoyed them more than those in Blue Chips. And I enjoyed the camaraderie of the players on Kyle Lee's team.
How you doing, baby? You my man in the whole nine, but you look like a 14-karat Urkel.
I'm really surprised and delighted at the number of good films we're getting that are set in the basketball world. First, White Men Can't Jump, and then the documentary Hoop Dreams that you should be looking for, and now Above the Rim. I guess writers and directors are finding some inherent drama in the struggle of the sport known as the city game. A lot of striving, people having to play as individuals within the world, and then the team. So you get so many different riffs going on. Check out Above the Rim.
Well, you know, Gene, one thing about basketball is that it's so cheap to play. I mean, you need a basketball and you need some shoes, and that's about it. And in terms of special equipment, it's not like football or track and field where you really need to have the right venue. And so any kid can go out and dream of being an NBA star, which is what happens to this kid. And you're quite right that the story really does have a kind of a nitty-gritty reality to it that I liked. And it was co-written by Barry Michael Cooper, by the way, who also wrote Sugar Hill, this current movie that I like you know, a lot of critics don't agree with me, but they're wrong.
Okay.
I think that this guy is a talented writer, and he's got 2 good movies out there.
The writing in this picture, I noticed it. You know, you're thinking this is going to be sort of the cornball, you know, Hollywood version, a little bit like Blue Tree. The writing is very smart, the things that people say to each other. And this film was also directed by the co-creator of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I think
Jeff Pollack.
Jeff Pollack.
Yeah.
He does a good job. It's a good, surprisingly good film, above the rim.
Okay, when we come back, an out-of-work man supports his family by his wits in Raining Stones.
Put plenty of force into it, so. Come on, come on, come on, come on! Just whack it! Hit it on the head. Go, look.
Oh, there's one thing.
What are you waiting for? Hit it!
Listen, we could always sell this as it is.
They have stolen that sheep, and now they hope to cut it up and sell it to raise some money in Raining Stones, the new film by Ken Loach, who specializes in films about the British working class. This one is a very moving film, but also very funny, a slice of life about a father and his best friend, you saw them there, trying to earn money in a town without jobs. The father is played by Bruce Jones, the mother, his wife, by Julie Brown, and their daughter Colleen is the apple of their eye. Her first communion time is approaching, and he struggles to give her a lesson in theology.
It's like when you die, you go to heaven.
Oh.
Well, if you've not had if you've not had your own communion, you can't get in. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, look at me.
Okay.
It gives you the present of life, so that when you die, you can go to heaven. If you don't have communion, you can't go to heaven. Now do you understand?
No.
Oh, bloody hellfire.
A first communion means a dress that this family can not afford. The priest has told him it's not necessary to spend a lot of money, but Dad wants to do right by his daughter.
Well, do you want to go and have a think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should.
No, there's no point. We'll go for it.
Much of Raining Stones is devoted to attempts by the father to raise enough money to pay for that dress, and he tries everything. And it's interesting the way Loach is able to get us fully involved in that struggle, while at the same time never losing sight of a lot of the underlying humor in much of the situation. I like that, and I was also struck by the character of the Catholic priest in the film. The movies routinely give us negative views of clergymen, so it was kind of a shock to find one who was realistic, humane, and viewed in a favorable light. And in fact, the scene where he gives the father some unexpected advice is one of the best ones in the film.
It really catches you back, and you're right. We don't, you know, the clergyman is the butt of the jokes routinely in pictures or the object of some scandal, and it is refreshing to see it here. Ken Loach made another film just before this called Riff Raff, which is, I think, a better film. I think it may have more wide-ranging...
That was the movie about the workmen on the construction site in London, and it starred Ricky Tomlinson, who also plays the best friend in this film. Now, he was a construction worker until he made these 2 movies, and he still has that kind of shabby authenticity that really works.
But I think that what I like about what Loach is doing now is he is taking these very mundane issues, buying a kid a communion dress, and finding the drama within it, and finding the plight of the working man in England today.
I ought to mention, some people might think they'll have a little trouble understanding some of the dialogue in this film, and it's true, you do have a little trouble, but you can pick it up and you can figure out what's happening.
He subtitled Riff Raff, didn't he?
I know,
Maybe you should have done it here, too. Coming up, she was Hitler's favorite filmmaker, and everyone acknowledges she was a great talent, but how ultimately should one judge the wonderful, horrible life of Leni Riefenstahl? That's next. The worth of the career of veteran documentary filmmaker extraordinaire Leni Riefenstahl has been debated for a half-century, and a new documentary called The Wonderful, Horrible Life of Leni Riefenstahl is going to provoke even more discussion. No one doubts her talent for capturing fresh images and her great editing style, but she used her great abilities in service to the Nazi Party, particularly in her most accomplished work, Triumph of the Will, about the Nuremberg Rally of 1934, which was really a major recruiting drive for the Nazi Party. But listen to how she lovingly recalls the shooting process without, at the same time, acknowledging the inherent horror of what she was filming.
Diese beiden Einstellungen ergeben die Form eines Kreises und wirken dadurch sehr gewaltig. Hier überschneiden sich die Fahnenreihen. Das war möglich durch die verschiedenen Kameraeinstellungen. Und im Schnitt her ist es etwas tänzerisch nach einem Rhythmus gemacht, genau nach der Musik geschnitten.
Documentarian Ray Mueller interviews Riefenstahl, and she's still alive and living quite well at 91 about her scandalous past.
Ich bin so aufgeregt, was Sie da gesagt haben. Das ist ja unglaublich. Ich habe gesellschaftlich, einer aus den Tagebüchern steht drin. Das steht doch überhaupt nicht drin. Das ist doch nicht wahr, Herr Müller.
She also made the official film called Olympia about the 1936 Berlin Olympics, which Hitler hosted and where she again displayed her prodigious talent.
Sie hatten da eine Bahn gebaut mit einem Katapult, das mitgehen sollte mit den Läufern, ja? Es war fantastisch. Und dann wurde es uns verboten.
She was professionally ruined after the war and later went to Africa to photograph a remote tribe. And we also see some amazing footage of her filming underwater. This is an incredible sight. A 91-year-old woman deep-sea diver, obviously driven to the ends and the bottom of the earth in an escape from her past. The movie fails to ask, however, Riefenstahl some very key questions like, how did you feel about your Jewish friends being branded, deprived of equal rights, and then being shipped to their death, filmmaking colleagues of hers? And what was your relationship with Hitler exactly? But we've got to remember that we're reviewing the documentary about her, not the woman or the movie she made. And even with all of its flaws and unasked questions, I still think we get a very good picture of a woman who still has not come to grips with what she did, and yet has this incredible gift for knowing where to place her camera and how to edit her films for maximum effect for me. Thumbs up, therefore, to the documentary, The Wonderful, Horrible Life of Leni Riefenstahl.
I agree with you, Gene, and, you know, this woman is so extraordinary. The problem is she's never been able to be frank and honest about what she really did. Maybe partially because she was a defendant at Nuremberg. She feels it's still her defense, and she's sticking to it. If she could only be open about that and be forthcoming about that, then we could perhaps feel that she had tried to rehabilitate herself in some way in the years since then, because she has had an extraordinary life, and yet there's this stain right at the center of it.
Well, I think that what's great about this is you can hold two thoughts.
Yes, you can.
You can say she was on the wrong side and she didn't realize it, and other people were on the right side. Other people separated themselves out. She didn't, and she's a great filmmaker. You don't have to seek a middle ground. You don't have to seek a middle ground.
What the film does is, I think it has a good title. She's had a wonderful life, and she certainly had a horrible life. Coming up next, the video pick of the week, The Joy Luck Club, a movie I think should have been among the nominees Monday night at the Oscars.
Siskel and Ebert's video pick of the week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Our video pick this week is The Joy Luck Club, which is being released on tape and disc this week, just in time to remind those Academy voters of what a big mistake they made when they didn't find room for any nominations for this wonderful picture. Based on the novel by Amy Tan, The Joy Luck Club begins in the present with a reunion of the children and relatives of four extraordinary women who came from China to America after undergoing enormous hardships in their native land.
For 30 years, these women feasted, forgot past wrongs, laughed and played, lost and won, and told the best stories.
Using flashbacks, the movie shows us episodes from the earlier lives of these women, including this heartbreaking scene in which a woman is forced to leave her twin children by the roadside. Convinced she's going to die, she hopes they'll be found by someone who can care for them.
There were so many things about my mother I never understood. This is the only one I never forgave.
The Joy Luck Club, which was on both of our lists of the best films of last year, is newly out on tape and disc, and we recommend you have a look at it. Now let's take a look at the movies we reviewed this week. We both voted thumbs up for the lighthearted and charming Four Weddings and a Funeral, with its romantic and comic performances by Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell. A split decision on The Cement Garden. I was intrigued by its macabre world, but Gene thought it had a good wind-up but no delivery. Two thumbs up for Above the Rim, an absorbing and sometimes unexpectedly funny slice of life about a New York kid who finds you can play basketball for love or money, but not for both. Two more thumbs up for Raining Stones, the infectious Ken Loach film from Britain about an unemployed man struggling to find the money for his daughter's first communion dress. And two more thumbs up for The Wonderful, Horrible Life of Leni Riefenstahl, a documentary which raises as many questions as it answers, but at least does raise them in a portrait of a woman who has become symbolic of the tension between art and morality. So
a lot of good pictures.
Good films this week,
And
yeah.
Four Weddings and a Funeral, I think, is really going to charm people. And Above the Rim, another strong basketball picture. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including The House of the Spirits, starring Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, and Winona Ryder, in the epic story of a South American family. And also Jimmy Hollywood, starring Joe Pesci and Christian Slater, as down-and-out pals who become vigilantes in Los Angeles. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.
New St. Ives Swiss Formula Papaya Plus, the gentle shampoo plus conditioner in one for naturally beautiful, healthy hair. New St. Ives Swiss Formula Papaya Plus. Welcome your guests with Royal Doormats, over 100 beautiful colors and styles made from recycled tires. Royal Doormats available at retailers everywhere. If you'd like to save up to 50% on your contact lenses, eyeglasses, and eye exams, call for a free Lens Express catalog and find out how you can start saving right away. It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly, now appearing at theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans, try them. You'll love them.